This
Yeah.
week you did a live video in Wildmill,
Yes.
which I watched. I wasn't sure whether I was actually watching it live or part way through live. But I got to say, your camera work was awful when you said they don't want to be on camera, and the few times you scrolled past their faces.
Hey, I challenge you to try and do something like that. You're talking, you're looking, and people know my history of trying to video, stepping on blackthorns.
Yeah, why do you think I do it this way over Zoom, not any other way? Um, anyway, there's been an announcement in the last day or two about the waste contract in Wildmill. And you had some good news today, which I saw you posted an hour and a
Yeah,
half ago. If you want to
yeah,
take it away with the problems with Wildmill and what's being done and what has been done.
yeah. Of course. I mean, the situation. I said at the outset, I stood in Morva because I'm a Wildmill boy,
Yeah,
and there's still people living Wildmill I grew up with, and I talk to them very regularly. The problem with Wildmill specifically, but also it's not exclusive to Wildmill. There are
no.
other areas around the county. Is that these communal waste areas weren't considered when Kia were awarded the contract? That's not me making that up. That's minuted in BC minutes. The complications surrounding these communal waste areas were not considered when the contract was drawn up. That's fine, you know, but how you deal with it afterwards is important. And personally, I don't believe it's been handled or dealt with properly. The people who live in these areas have suffered for 4.5 years now because of that original mistake. And making mistakes is human. Let's not get away from that. That happened. My
Yeah,
issue is that it's not dealt with properly. Now, what they have in communal waste areas, you're talking about Wild Mill, you're talking about Heel du Rhine, and you'll be talking about stuff all around the borough, is that you have areas where the waste collection bins can't, the waste collection lorries can't get to in the same way that they do for on-street collection. So they're
yeah,
supplied with um, what they call wheelie bins, but they've got four wheelie bins for 20 houses. Now, I'm all for reducing waste, but you don't do that by taking away the provision because it causes further problems.
yeah,
The other issue I have, and it became very evident early on, was, and I'm not saying you would do it, okay? I'm just giving
no,
this is just an example. This is just a for instance. You're allowed two waste bags per fortnight, and I'm sure you adhere to that. But what happens
yeah.
if you go? What happens if you go over? Are
Oh,
you going to keep that bin in your house, or are you going to try and get rid of it somewhere?
I'm part of Port. I actually currently live in Cummins, so I'm part of Newport Talbot, where
Right.
I
Okay.
don't have that limit because everybody.
Well, even better then. So you can ask the for instance. You can answer the for
Yeah,
instance. The problem originates from houses who live in an area where they're restricted to two bags. They have a party. They buy something from Amazon, not Amazon because that comes in plastic, but they have something that generates more waste than
yeah,
they're allowed to dispose of. Well, they take it to the tip. But while Mill's just round the corner, they've got communal waste areas. I'll just
yeah,
pop it down there because it's easier, it's more convenient. And as humans, when we see a pathway and we can see the grass and it's quicker, we walk across the grass because it's more
yes,
convenient for us. And the residents of Wildmill have been telling me for 4+ years that people are travelling to the area and dumping waste. They've provided me with evidence that it's happening.
well, we
Now,
saw it
I've been
clearly
trying.
on your video.
Look, it's been happening for 4 years, and the problem is how you deal with that because you can only deal with it through enforcement. You can't just remove it. If you lived in Wild Mill and there's waste outside my house, if you take it away, then you're just encouraging other people to just take it there. They have to
Yeah,
deal with enforcement. My biggest issue is that obviously Valleys to Coast are the social landlord there, and Valleys to Coast were the first ever social landlord to take over a community asset transfer of an entire area like that. And again, that contract wasn't written very well for the residents who live there. So again, an example: I live in Brackler. If some waste is dumped in the park opposite me, I can phone the council, I can report it on Fix My Street, and it'll get taken away. Easy. If somebody dumps in Wild Mill, then I can't report it to BCBC because it's valleys to coast land. The valleys to coast have to go and collect it and dispose of it. Now, valleys to coast don't have a waste disposal contract, so they have to employ a company to dispose of the waste. And there's a cost. So where do Valleys to Coast get their money from? They get it from a service charge from the residents. So whereas I can report it and it's taken away
Yeah.
as part of my council tax, if somebody fly tips in Wildmill, the residents have to pay a service charge to take it away. And let's not avoid the fact that people who live in Wildmill are some of the most socially deprived people in our area. They're ex-council houses. So we are exacerbating the problem for people who live there. And this comes back to why I get into politics, because these people need somebody shouting for them, because they get talked down to. I mean, when I started on this, and I'm not making this up, and I know it's something we're going to come along to, when I first raised in this issue, people genuinely said to me, it's only Wildmill, don't worry about it. And how offensive is that? Because they pay council tax, they pay more, they pay a service charge.
Yeah.
They pay their rents. A lot of people there own their own houses and live there through choice. It's not, we've got to get past that. It's not right. And I've fought for this for 5 years. And I mean, the result today was that 21 bin lids that I'd reported back in June have been replaced. Well, that is a result, but they should have been fixed at the end of June, Luke, to be honest, because I ran a food business in Bridgend Town Centre, and I used to get EHO visits, and I could be spot checked through shared regulatory services. If I didn't clean my bin, I would be marked down and possible enforcement action. Those food bins in waste community areas weren't cleaned for 4 years. So you had 20 houses putting food into one wheelie bin, and it wasn't cleaned for 4 years. Wildmill's by a river. Rats lives in rivers. I'll leave the rest to you.
It's not the fact that even if the rat spout is a health hazard anyway, but the smells and the flies they attract, the other vermin or whatever, it attracts normal animals, normal pets like cats as well.
Yeah. And look, I mean, if you watch the video, one of the women I was trying not to video was Rachel. I grew up with Rachel in Wildmill. We go back 40 years. There is a purple bag waste collection point about 15 yards away from her window. Somebody has put them out in the place where they're meant to put them out, and they weren't collected. So Rachel phoned Kia and said, "You've left some purple bags behind." The response to Rachel was, "They're not your bags. You're not registered to put purple bags out. We can't respond to you. You need to get the person who's put them out to phone us." Yeah. So she's meant to go around and knock everyone's doors and say, "Excuse me, are they your nappies? Can you report them not being there?" Take them away.
Why make things complicated? It's
the one thing I say to everyone, I didn't say it when I met you because I didn't know it at the time. People get into politics because you get frustrated by something.
Yeah.
The more you get into politics, the more you get frustrated. It's about, and again, this is something we'll come on to. Politics is about opinions, and somebody's opinion is different to my opinion, is different to your opinion, is different, and it's how we work together to find a resolution.
Yeah.
But when it comes to stuff like this, I will shout and shout and shout about it because I have seen people in tears because of where they live. And I'm not talking about Rachel, I'm talking about other people now. Rachel will just swear at somebody. That's Rachel. but people hating where they live because of things that are imposed on them. Now, it's my opinion that's wrong. It's my opinion that somebody like me needs to stand up for them. And that's why this 5 years has been so rewarding for me. Because, a little victory today, 21 bin lids, and perhaps they wouldn't have been fixed if I hadn't reported them. So that's positive. There's so much more to do on this. And this whole thing of awarding them a new 3-year contract without a tender, no, just no. that can't happen because it's wrong and it needs to be changed.
Yeah, I spoke to Ian about this last week, and it was all bungled from the start. Now, when cycling in Bridgend originally came round in the mid-early 2000s, and it was rolled out area by area, so they could see where the problems were, adjust, and go like that, instead of doing one whole area, the whole of the county at the same time, so everywhere suffers. So you just roll it out area by area. But with this latest contract, it was, that's the date is signed and everybody changes on this date.
Cast your mind back, Lou. because, look, this is a political blog. Let's get political. The
Yeah.
Kia contract was meant to start in March 2017.
Yeah.
It was delayed for unknown reasons until June, the month after the elections.
Yeah.
Do you remember the carnage in July of 2017?
Oh God, yeah. We had one of our hottest summers then as well.
Absolutely. And
And
there was rubbish everywhere. And
I
and there are mechanisms within the contract to reclaim money back from Kia for missed collections.
yeah,
That summer was so bad that they actually did enough missed collections to have the contract ripped up.
yeah,
That's how bad it was. It's better now for the majority of us. It's still not better for those who live in communal waste collection areas.
yeah. And don't think in any way we're bashing the operatives that work on the bins. They have a
No,
hard
no,
enough
no, no,
time
no,
and they
no.
do a fantastic
No,
job.
no.
But it's the management above, and it's
Yeah,
BCBC who haven't done things correctly for them to do their jobs correctly. It's like in your video you were saying about how all the residents have to separate their recycling
yeah,
into the special bins, and you even it was like it was ordained or something. You had a big lorry there collecting and dumping it all into one bin lorry,
yeah,
mixing it all back together again, making the initial separation
yeah.
completely and utterly pointless.
Yeah. Let's not go any further than saying that the operatives of Kia have been one of the unsung
Yeah.
hero during COVID.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, there was very few weeks where there weren't collections, and that's down to the people who actually did the job. That's hard work, that's
yeah,
dedication. Not a single second of complaint for those who carry out the job they're asked to do.
no
The criticism of those who put the structures in place.
place. Yeah,
Absolutely.
you can't blame the operatives for the structures that they've had to follow.
Oh,
Unfortunately, it's not their fault. It's that if they
yeah.
stopped doing it the way they were told, I'm sure they'd get stern talking tos. And
And I will know that some of them will have raised concerns
oh
themselves
yeah,
and not, it's not taken forward. But
no, but
that's the way of the world.
there we go. So we've had but Labour now have come up supposedly with a new plan. I haven't
Have you seen the bags?
I haven't seen the details of this plan yet. I haven't had time to look into it. So if you could give us a little bit on what this new plan is. I think it's the third one they've had now, is it? Something like that? Because they had a plan at the start. They had a plan a couple of years later when Sarah Murphy was just before the Senate elections.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a plan for Wildmill because that was a big thing. And now the plan is come to a fruition. Well, what they're saying.
I'm not going to ridicule it, but I'm going to say it's useless. They've given every resident a blue Hessian bag to take their rubbish to the bins, and they're going to start with the education of residents again.
But it's not the residents that need the education. They are doing.
There are a few. Liz.
There are a few.
Yeah,
I agree with that. But
yeah. And again, there's something that we can't ignore. There are some residents
Yeah.
who live in Wildmill who do not adhere to the rules. My issue with this education again was back in 2017. They promised us two things: education and then enforcement. We're nearly 5 years down the line, and we're going back to the education. There has been, I think it was 12 enforcement notices handed out for fly tipping in Wildmill, which includes putting the wrong things in the wrong place in 4 years. There's 12 incidents a week. We've had 12, or I don't want to, I'm working off the top of my head. It's not something I've looked at before the chat. It needs enforcement. It needs people. Was it last summer they employed people to follow dog walkers around to ensure that they had dog waste bins in their pockets, and if they didn't have dog waste bags, that they would be issued with a fixed penalty notice?
Yeah.
Let's employ those people. Let's get them into these communal waste areas. Let's get them issuing tickets to people who are doing the bins wrong, because that is as much of an issue as people who are leaving dog waste down Newbridge Fields.
Yeah.
They could do the one, let's do the other. Because I personally have sent photographs. I've been to Wildmill, I've opened bin bags, I've taken photographs of envelopes with people's names and addresses on from outside the area. I've had photographs of a white van emptying rubbish out into a communal waste area with the registration number on. I've provided both to be told that I'm not an official data collection on behalf of the local authority, and that evidence is inadmissible. So let's get people who can get evidence admissible, and let's get them down there doing the work I'm doing.
But if let's take dash cams at the moment. Now,
Yeah.
police are asking people to take dash cams of send their footage in. I've seen the links in Northamptonshire and other places.
Yeah.
Send your footage in of drivers breaking the law, and we will prosecute. And they have been prosecuting them.
Yeah.
Are they official data collectors now, these people with dash cams? Because it's exactly the same situation, and it shouldn't matter whether you're an official data collector, you're an elected official, a community councillor for Morver, for Wildmill area. So that's part of your duties, making sure that the area is safe, secure, and a nice place for people to live in. That's part of your duty. So collecting this data shouldn't matter.
Do you want an exclusive? Because I've not spoken to anyone about this up until now for a very good reason. I reported bags in Wildmill, and this, as I said, it's not exclusive to Wildmill. There's Heel du Rain. This is a huge problem there as well. But obviously, Ian, Michelle, Freya are Oldcastle.
Yeah.
I'm Morver, so I'm talking about where I'm elected. I went down to Wildmill. I did exactly the same. I knew there was no point in me taking a photograph because it would not be admissible. I'd already been told that. So I sent an email. I've said there is waste bins down in Wildmill that have got envelopes in that has evidence that they're not from the area. You've got cast iron, beautiful evidence here. The reply I had was, during COVID, we are not allowed to empty any bin bags to look for evidence. Now, I haven't spoken about that up until now, because if I had done, it would have encouraged other people to do it. Yeah. And I had to be responsible in that. And there is a balance there. I know, I was going to say I have a loud mouth. I have loud thumbs when I post things in anger. I didn't publicize that because I didn't want people to think, well, hey, it's open season, we can put rubbish wherever we want. But for the last year, they haven't been able to open bags because they wouldn't authorize the people who can get the evidence to open the bin bags because of COVID. And it's just like, come on, we've got to do something, because we have the 6th highest council tax in the UK or Wales, or whichever way around, it might be 9th in the UK. And we're back to, fine, but let's offer the 6th best service. Let's not charge the most and be the worst. Let's charge good money and give good service, because you can do that. And I don't think all these people complaining on social media about having the highest council tax would complain if we were better than we are. Let's do more. Yeah, and that's where I am with Wildmill and the whole waste thing. Let's be better. Let's do more. Let's serve the residents better. And this whole thing of, oh, it's only Wildmill. Let's get past that.
It shouldn't make a difference where it is.
No, of course it doesn't.
If it's within the county, you have a duty, not just a duty, an obligation to do your best for
absolutely
them. Every councillor, every person who is elected, whether you've stood and you've won your seat unopposed, you're still an elected official, whether anybody voted for you or not. And your responsibility is to everybody, regardless of whether they voted for you, whether they voted for somebody else, or whether they didn't vote at all. And it doesn't just extend to adults, it extends to children as well.
I played rugby when I was younger. I was okay. I wasn't the best. I was okay. But my ethos was to be the best rugby player I could be.
Yeah.
As a councillor, I want to be the best councillor I can be. As a council, as Bridgend Town Council, I want us to be the best town council I can be. And all I want from BCBC, because, hey, I'm probably one of their loudest critics, I want BCBC to be the best that BCBC can be.
Yeah.
Are they at the moment? That's probably open for debate.
Oh, everything's open for debate, regardless of what council.
But let's be the best local authority. Look, we can't make Porthcawl Blackpool.
No.
But let's make Porthcawl the best Porthcawl it can be. We can't make it Brighton, but let's make it the best seaside town that we can make it.
Yeah.
Let's not look for excuses. Let's not talk ourselves down. Oh, we can't do that because we're here. Let's make our area the best area it can be. We can't achieve anything more than our potential, but let's realise our potential.